cursing at work, jumping off a boat into water, cheating on your spouse, wearing the wrong medal on your chest, falling behind on a march. Every one of those things is something a civilian can do and face, at most, a social consequence, a dirty look, an awkward conversation, maybe a fine. Every one of those same things is a criminal offense under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the law that governs every active duty member of the United States Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Space Force from the moment they take the oath. Not a policy violation, not a write-up, a criminal offense with jail time, forfeiture of pay, and a dishonorable discharge on the table.
The question this video answers is the one civilians almost never think to ask. What does a soldier actually give up when he puts on that uniform? And how different is the legal world he lives in from the one the rest of us take for granted? Subscribe to Daily Soldier now. This channel goes where the recruiting commercials do not. The law that governs all of it. Before the 7 things, you need to understand what makes them possible. The Uniform Code of Military Justice is a federal law. Congress enacted it in 1951 to replace a system where each branch of the military operated under its own separate legal code, which changed depending on whether the country was at peace or at war. The UCMJ made the legal standard uniform across every service. It covers active duty members, activated National Guard and Reserve personnel, and military academy students. In some circumstances during wartime, certain civilians working in support of the military also fall under its authority. According to Military.com's overview of the UCMJ, it contains specific articles that enumerate individual offenses. Article 92 covers failure to obey an order or regulation. Article 129 covers burglary. Article 134, which will come up repeatedly in this video, is called the General Article. It covers, in the words of the code itself, all disorders and neglects to the prejudice of good order and discipline in the armed forces, all conduct of a nature to bring discredit upon the armed forces. That last phrase matters. A soldier is not just a citizen who happens to serve. He is a representative of the armed forces at all times, and behavior that brings discredit on that institution is legally actionable even when it would be entirely legal for the civilian next to him. That is the legal world a soldier lives in. Now here are the 7 things inside it that most civilians will find genuinely surprising. 1. Cursing. Article 134 of the UCMJ, before the 2019 overhaul, listed 55 specific offenses. One of them was indecent language. The UCMJ defines indecent language, according to Military.com's coverage of the offense, as language that is grossly offensive to modesty, decency, or propriety, or that shocks the moral sense because of its vulgar, filthy, or disgusting nature, or its tendency to incite lustful thought. The everyday profanity that runs through military culture, the casual language of the barracks, the patrol base, the motor pool, is technically a criminal offense under the code. It is almost never prosecuted as a standalone charge, but it sits in the code. And in the context of a more serious offense, it can be added as an additional charge. A soldier who cannot separate his private language from his professional conduct, or who uses it in a way that reflects on the institution, is technically on the wrong side of federal law every time he opens his mouth. 2. Jumping from a vessel into water. This one has no civilian equivalent, and it surprises almost everyone who hears it. Intentionally jumping from any vessel being used by the United States military into water is a criminal offense under the UCMJ. According to Military.com's reporting on bizarre military crimes, the maximum punishment is dishonorable discharge, forfeiture of all pay and allowances, and up to 2 years of confinement. It does not have to be an official warship. Any vessel operated by or under the control of any branch of the armed forces at sea or in port qualifies. The Navy's official swim calls, where sailors are authorized to enter the water, are a formal exception. Without that authorization, the act of jumping is the offense. A civilian jumping off a boat into the water on the 4th of July faces no legal consequence. A sailor doing the same thing off a vessel under military control faces a court-martial. 3. Straggling. Straggling is defined under Article 134 as wandering away, straying, becoming separated from a unit, or lagging and lingering behind. In a wartime context, this is not a minor infraction. A soldier who falls behind his unit on a patrol creates a force protection problem, a potential casualty, and a gap in the unit's combat effectiveness. If the unit has to stop and account for a straggler, the mission slows. If the unit cannot stop and the straggler cannot be located, the consequences can be catastrophic. The accountability that military units maintain for every member at all times is not bureaucratic habit. It is a direct product of what happens when that accountability fails in a hostile environment. In a peacetime context, it is still an offense. A soldier who consistently lags during a road march, who cannot keep up, who falls out of formation without authorization, can be brought up on charges, face reduced pay, and be confined for up to 3 months. The concept of accountability to the unit runs through every element of military service. A civilian who gets distracted and falls behind on a group hike faces mild embarrassment. A soldier who does the equivalent on a tactical road march faces criminal charges. 4. Extramarital sexual conduct. Before 2019, the UCMJ addressed adultery as a specific offense. The 2019 overhaul, the first comprehensive update to the code since 1984, replaced the term with extramarital sexual conduct and expanded both its definition and its scope. Under the updated language, according to military.com, the offense now covers all forms of sexual contact outside of marriage and is written to be gender neutral. The conduct must still meet one of 2 criteria to be prosecutable. It must be prejudicial to good order and discipline, or it must be of a nature to bring discredit upon the armed forces. The penalties remain serious. A fine, confinement, and dishonorable discharge are all possible outcomes. A civilian's personal life is his own. A soldier's personal life, in matters that touch on unit cohesion, public perception of the military, or the order and discipline of the force, is subject to federal law. That is not a hypothetical. It is the legal standard active duty members live under every day they wear the uniform. Before we keep going, if this is landing differently than you expected, hit the like button right now. It takes 2 seconds and tells the algorithm to show this to more people. Now back to the story. 5. Wearing unauthorized uniform items. The Stolen Valor Act, signed by President Barack Obama in 2013, makes it illegal for a civilian to wear unearned military awards and decorations only when the intent is to receive some kind of material benefit. A civilian can walk around wearing a Purple Heart for sympathy or admiration with no legal consequence whatsoever, as long as he is not profiting from it. For a soldier, the standard is completely different. In 2019, what had been an offense under Article 134 was elevated to its own standalone article. Article 106A of the UCMJ now prohibits military members from wearing unauthorized insignia, decoration, badge, ribbon, device, or lapel button. A soldier cannot wear a medal he did not earn. He cannot wear a badge he has not been awarded. He cannot wear any device on his uniform that has not been formally authorized by his branch. And unlike the civilian stolen valor standard, there is no requirement to prove intent to profit. The act of wearing the unauthorized item is itself the offense. This matters because the uniform is not personal expression. It is a precise, regulated representation of a soldier's record, training, and achievement. Every item on it means something. Every unauthorized item is a lie told in federal law's jurisdiction. 6. Being drunk on duty and providing alcohol to prisoners. Under Article 112 of the UCMJ, a soldier who is drunk on duty faces criminal charges. That alone is not surprising. What is surprising is the reach of the law around military prisoners. According to military.com, military personnel who are serving time in military custody are considered to be on duty while imprisoned, which means that a prisoner who is caught drunk, regardless of how he obtained the alcohol, is technically drunk on duty, and anyone who provides alcohol to a military prisoner is guilty of the same offense as the prisoner who drank it. A civilian who has a drink while incarcerated faces a disciplinary infraction. A military prisoner who manages to obtain alcohol while serving time faces a criminal charge of being drunk on duty, added on top of whatever offense put him there in the first place. And whoever smuggled it in shares that charge. 7. Dueling. Article 114 of the UCMJ, under endangerment offenses, explicitly addresses dueling. And while a formal pistols at dawn duel has not been a significant problem in the 21st century military, the article exists for a documented historical reason. According to military.com's reporting, citing author Stephen Budiansky, 1 in 12 naval officers who died on active duty before 1815 were killed in duels. 2/3 of Navy officers killed before the Civil War died in duels. Dueling was the method of conflict resolution among officers, and it killed them in numbers that rivaled combat. Today, Article 114 requires military personnel to report possible duels to their command under threat of imprisonment. A soldier who knows a duel is being planned and does not report it is guilty of a criminal offense. The law remains in the code because the culture that produced the dueling deaths had to be explicitly prohibited, not just discouraged. Answering the question. So here is what a soldier gives up when he puts on the uniform, and how different his legal world really is. He gives up the right to conduct himself as a purely private citizen. His language, his personal relationships, his physical location relative to his unit, his uniform, his behavior while in prison, and even his knowledge of planned violence between fellow soldiers are all subject to federal criminal law in ways that have no civilian equivalent. None of these restrictions exist to punish soldiers. They exist because the military's ability to function depends on a standard of discipline, accountability, and institutional integrity that civilian law was never designed to enforce. A soldier who falls behind on a march, wears an unearned medal, or gets drunk on duty is not just making a personal choice. He is degrading the force. He is weakening the institution that other soldiers depend on. He is introducing a crack into a system where cracks cost lives, and the UCMJ treats it accordingly. Most soldiers do not spend their days thinking about the UCMJ. They hold the standard because the standard is how they were trained, and because the people around them hold it too. The law is the baseline, the floor below which no soldier is supposed to fall. What makes the military work is that most soldiers are not trying to find the floor. They are trying to be nowhere near it. That is the legal reality every soldier accepts the day he takes the oath, not always thinking about it, not always reminded of it, but living inside it every single day. There is a soldier right now finishing a road march, keeping pace with the man in front of him not because the view is great or the weather is comfortable, but because falling behind is not something he allows himself to do. Not because of Article 134, because the standard he holds himself to does not have a minimum. He is not thinking about the UCMJ. He is thinking about the mission, the unit, and the standard. The law is just the floor. The soldier is everything above it. If this gave you a different picture of what it actually means to serve, subscribe to Daily Soldier and tell us, which one of these 7 surprised you the most? Thanks for watching.